A lobster just became the internet's favorite AI assistant. And it's not because it's cute, it's because this thing can read your messages, decide what to do, and then actually do it on your real machine. By the end of this video, you'll understand what Moltbot is, why it exploded so fast, and why the exact feature that makes it magical might also make it dangerous. And yeah, there's a twist. It didn't just go viral, it got renamed mid-flight after a trademark clash linked to Anthropic's Claude branding, and the chaos that followed became part of the story. Right now, AI is shifting from talking to doing. Not just answering questions, but clicking buttons, moving files, sending messages, booking things. Like a digital intern that never sleeps. And Moltbot, formerly Clawdbot, became a symbol of that shift almost overnight. But here's the part that matters for you and me. When an assistant goes from advice to actions, the stakes jump. Because now the main question isn't, is the AI smart? It's, what exactly did we just give it permission to touch? So, what is this thing? According to TechCrunch's reporting, it's a lobster-themed personal AI assistant that went viral within weeks and rebranded from Clawdbot to Moltbot after a legal challenge related to Anthropic. It's pitched as the AI that actually does things, meaning it can handle tasks like calendars, messages, and even flight check-ins, if you wire it up correctly. And the origin story is classic builder lore. It started as a personal project by Austrian developer Peter Steinberger, known online as StyPT, built to help manage his own digital life and explore human-AI collaboration. Then it escaped the lab, and thousands of people decided, at the same time, to install a still young agent with real system access. And once the hype hit critical mass, it didn't stay inside GitHub. TechCrunch reported that Moltbot climbed past 44,200 GitHub stars quickly, and the attention was intense enough that Cloudflare's stock surged 14% in pre-market trading on one Tuesday, as buzz tied Moltbot to Cloudflare infrastructure developers used to run it locally. MarketWatch also described Cloudflare shares rising sharply across Monday and Tuesday during the Moltbot frenzy, while noting Cloudflare isn't directly the Moltbot company. That's not a normal software launch, especially not for a tool that still expects you to know what a server is. Okay, let's demystify it. No hype, no mysticism. At a high level, an AI agent is just an AI model connected to tools. The model is the brain, good at reading language and planning steps. The tools are the hands, APIs, scripts, browsers, messaging apps, calendars, anything that can actually change the world outside the chat box. Moltbot's vibe is, you talk to it like a person, but it behaves like a system. In the project's own GitHub README, it describes a personal AI assistant. You run on your own devices, which can reply across common channels like WhatsApp and Telegram and several others, instead of forcing you into one new app. So the assistant doesn't live in some distant SaaS dashboard by default. It's meant to be close to your data, close to your tools, and always on. Now, how does it connect the dots? Think of it like a small control tower running locally, receiving your messages, deciding what should happen next, and dispatching the right tools. You text "clean my inbox" and it can open the relevant integrations, draft responses, and run workflows, because the agent is allowed to execute real operations. But the weird part is, local first doesn't automatically mean safe. On GitHub, the project explicitly warns that its web interface is intended for local use only, and not hardened for public exposure. And that one sentence carries a lot of meaning. It's basically saying, don't put this on the open internet and hope for the best. Let's talk about the brain, too. In the GitHub README, Clawdbot lists subscriptions via OAuth for Anthropic and OpenAI, and notes a recommended setup leaning on Anthropic plans and a specific Claude model for long context and better prompt injection resistance. The assistant can be wired to different model providers, and the choice of model is part of the safety story, not just the intelligence story. Now imagine the workflow this enables. Before agents, productivity AI usually meant you paste text into a chatbot, it gives you text back, and you do the rest manually. With Moltbot-style assistance, the promise is different. It's delegation, not prompting. You don't ask for instructions, you assign an outcome. Here's a concrete cinematic example. You're walking outside, one hand holding your phone, the other holding life together. You text the bot, "I'm flying tomorrow. Find my flight email, check me in when it opens, and text me the boarding pass." If it works the way early adopters describe it, that's not one task. That's a chain. Email search to confirmation to airline workflow to saving artifacts to messaging you the result. And that chain is exactly why people got excited. because it feels like the first time assistant is not just a metaphor. But you can't skip the fine print, because the fine print is the product. On GitHub, the onboarding flow is built around a CLI wizard, and the docs emphasize it runs on Mac OS and Linux with Windows supported via WSL2. It also calls out a modern Node runtime requirement, Node 22 or later, because the agent is still at its core software you're running and maintaining. This isn't download app, tap, continue. It's closer to, congratulations, you are now the IT department. And that technical barrier is part of why the culture around it looks the way it does. It attracts builders, tinkerers, people who enjoy the setup almost as much as the results, people who see autonomy not as a feature, but as a philosophy. Viewer self-insert. If you're a student, this looks like a way to tame deadlines and email chaos. If you run a small business, it looks like the first assistant you can afford that might actually operate inside your messy tool stack. And if you're a developer, it looks like a preview of where the entire software industry is heading. Now we have to talk about the part everyone wants to skip. Because an agent that does things has to be able to do things, meaning it needs permissions, and permissions are where reality lives. TechCrunch highlighted a core concern. A tool that can execute arbitrary commands on your computer is powerful by definition, and therefore risky by definition. One of the scarier categories is prompt injection through content, malicious text inside a message or document that tricks the assistant into taking unintended actions. That's not science fiction, that's just instructions smuggled in through the same channel you use to talk to your bot. Let's define prompt injection in one line. Prompt injection is when untrusted text, like a DM, successfully steers an AI system into ignoring your intent and following someone else's. And the human risk is just as real. Over-reliance. That slow slide where you stop checking. Because it worked last time. Here's the balancing perspective. Security isn't a reason to panic. It's a reason to design. The same sources also point out mitigations. Careful setup, isolation, and treating the agent like a dangerous power tool, not a toy. And the project itself includes explicit operational guidance, like warnings not to expose the web UI publicly. So what does safe enough even look like? On GitHub, the project describes default DM behavior on several chat platforms as a pairing mode. Unknown senders don't get processed, they get a pairing code, and you approve them into a local allow list. That's a smart baseline because it acknowledges a simple truth. Inbound messages are untrusted input. And if you ignore that truth, you're basically wiring your home's front door lock to a public comment section. Also, secrets. API keys, SSH keys, tokens, anything that can unlock other systems. If an agent can read them or run commands that use them, you must assume attackers will try to reach them. In the project's security.md, it recommends reporting vulnerabilities privately, and it includes operational guidance and hardening references, plus a reminder that the interface isn't designed for public exposure. It even specifies a minimum node.js version and ties it to security patches, which is a subtle signal that the maintainers expect real adversaries, not just curious hobbyists. And then there's the social layer of risk, impersonation and scams. TechCrunch described how the rename period attracted opportunists, including account sniping and scammy activity around the project's identity. In other words, when something goes viral, attackers don't need to break the code. They can just exploit the confusion. So where does this go next? The Moltbot moment is bigger than one lobster. It's a preview of agentic software, apps that accept goals, keep context, and execute steps over time. And the main bottleneck isn't intelligence anymore. It's trust. To move from early adopters to normal people, these tools need hardening playbooks and safe defaults. So the secure path becomes the easy path, because most people are not going to run a separate machine with throwaway accounts just to get help with email. Utility has to win without giving up safety. Here's the part that surprised me. This whole wave is forcing a new conversation. Not, can AI write? But, should AI have hands? And if the answer is yeah, then we're also saying, I need seatbelts, airbags, and a driver's license system. In the near future, the winners might not be the agents that can do the most. They might be the agents that can prove clearly what they did, why they did it, and what they were allowed to touch. Because autonomy without accountability is just chaos with better grammar. So if you're tempted to try Moltbot or anything like it, Keep one principle in your head. Treat it like a computer with superpowers, not a chatbot with vibes. And if you're building in this space, remember, the real product isn't the demo, it's the defaults. What do you think? Are we ready for personal AI agents that can take actions? Or do we need a whole new safety layer before this goes mainstream? That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.